INEOS make some must-needed changes to crack down on those at Manchester United spending our money on the wrong things. Has there been a boost and a breakthrough potentially for Dan Ashworth? What is the latest on the transfer front? Man United could be getting a little bit of money for another team selling one of their players with a sell-on clause. And, of course, the Liverpool game tomorrow, a game that I'm worried about. But Ten Hag has played Liverpool twice at Old Trafford and we've won both of them. So, you know what? I'm going to be positive. I'm going to be positive, but when you look at that, there's no Varane, there's no Evans, there's no Martinez. You look at the injury list, it's worrying. And then we'll get into other stories on the manager front and more. So please do that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. And let's dive into the content. The first story here coming from the Times, and it links with a story from the PSR that came out 2 days ago. But I wanted to include this because I think it's on a sort of similar link between these stories. Some Manchester United staff members have been told they will no longer have access to chauffeur-driven private cars as INEOS continue to crack down on lavish spending by the club. This has came out just now. 4 days ago, this was said. Manchester United have cancelled the corporate credit cards of senior figures at Old Trafford as part of the cost review process instigated by minority owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe to help the club comply with profit and sustainability rules. And remember, 2 months ago, it was announced that INEOS have stopped the Glazers taking dividends out of Manchester United for the next 2 years. So the Glazers are no longer allowed to take dividends out of United. The corporate and senior staff are no longer having credit cards where we're going to pay for John Murt's trip to Barcelona where he's working but actually just having a few beers. We're also cracking down on chauffeurs and all of that. I think INEOS have realised these players got a load of money. They can pay for their own private drivers. Why are we paying for this person to get a private jet here? Obviously, if it's a transfer, it's a little bit different. Now you needed to fly Amrabat last minute. Fair enough. Why are we giving loads of people private credit cards to spend the club's money? Why are the Glazers taking out dividends when the club's in a mess and they've taken out enough dividends? INEOS have basically cracked down and said, you know what, FFP, financial situation that we're in, the debt that we're in. I know that, with the millions and millions of football, this might not make the hugest, most big difference. I think the Glazers taking out dividends, that could save us 30 million a year is a big difference. But I think this is what needs to be done, crack down. We're not a team where you just use United to make money. We're a football team, and I like that. And I also like this story. There is hope, and I don't know if this will happen, but the Times is normally very accurate with their information, and they're giving us a positive spin. It's been a bit negative post-Chelsea. We've got a bit of a positive spin today. There is hope within Manchester United. The deals for Dan Ashworth and Jason Wilcox will get done, but the protracted negotiations are a source of irritation within the club. I think Jason Wilcox will be done. Omar Barada is basically done. Dan Ashworth's going to be difficult, but I think Newcastle won't want to pay his gardening leave for him not to work for that long. Newcastle also want to bring in a sporting director of their own. I think Newcastle will give in. They just know what United are like. They know United pay the money, and they're like, maybe it will take Newcastle a little bit of time to come around and be like, no, INEOS, you can't mess with INEOS. They're not just going to give you the money you want. They're not Murta. I think Newcastle will slowly realise as summer comes around, okay, we're going to have to negotiate on Dan Ashworth, which they won't like, but they'll want to do, particularly if they want to bring in Paul Mitchell. It was said as well by the Times Sport that Erik Ten Hag has been involved in discussions regarding a whole host of matters relating to next season, including transfer targets and planning for the club summer tours. It seems as of now, Romano said that INEOS aren't looking at managerial candidates. Whitwell said that it looks like Ten Hag will stay on. Ornstein said that we're not looking at too many managerial candidates. It looks like right now INEOS are sort of planning for next season with Ten Hag, although they've not been completely convinced. There's some reports suggesting because of how much it will cost to sack Ten Hag, because of the lack of viable alternatives that they believe that United can attract over the likes of Barcelona, Bayern and Liverpool right now, that INEOS may be planning for Ten Hag, but nothing is set in stone and the mind isn't completely won over by Ten Hag, but they know there's a lot to change, is the suggestion within the media. Now, let's dive into the transfer news. It was said that Atletico and several Italian teams are interested in signing former Manchester United midfielder Andres Pereira this summer. He has a 20% release clause. So let's say, not release clause, sell-on clause. So let's say Atletico Madrid, pay 30 million for this guy. I don't think they will pay 30 million for this guy, but let's say they pay 30 million for this guy. Obviously, we get 20% of that, so that would be £6 million. I'd assume it would be more, 20 million mark. We could maybe make 3 or 4 million extra from that, which every penny counts, particularly at United this summer. A player that I think will be one of our biggest sales, and I think Greenwood and McTominay in terms of sales, in terms of FFP, are probably the two most important players for Manchester United to sell. In terms of Greenwood and McTominay will be pure FFP profit. I think Greenwood, I don't think he's going to come back to United. I think his future's sort of set in stone. And I think with McTominay, him being 27 off the back of a decent season, but we know he's not going to ever be good enough to start for United to have enough chances. I think McTominay and Greenwood are two players where if you sell them, it's pure FFP profit because they'll come through the academy. You can get over 30 million for both of them. It said that Juventus will attempt to sign Mason Greenwood this summer. He will leave United. It looks like he will. Although we need a right winger, although we need a striker, I think it would be a bit of a difficult scenario to bring back Greenwood, and I don't think INEOS want to risk that, and INEOS will see, look, we can get some money from pure FFP profit, which will be good. And there's actually also suggestions that maybe INEOS could use Mason Greenwood in maybe a swap deal with Bremer, and maybe we give them an extra 10 million to get Bremer off Juventus in a way to save money when we're probably going to need two centre-backs. When you look at the injury crisis, the fact that Varane is probably going to leave on a free, Lindelof will probably go, and one of Maguire and Evans could go. We will need two centre-backs in the summer because Martinez as well, you can't rely on him to stay fit. I think we need Branthwaite and Todibo. But maybe you bring in Bremer if Branthwaite would get priced out of it, because Man United made it clear, if Branthwaite goes above 65 million, Omar Brad is going to be like, no, we're not doing an 80 million on the centre back because then that's 15 million less for another position. We might miss out on someone key. It was also said that United have only carried out a survey on their Palmeiras attacker Tallis as of now, but it would take a while to make an offer. But we do have an interest in this sort of 18, 19-year-old forward in Brazil, maybe someone we'd buy and loan to Nice, which is one to keep an eye on. Same with Anselmo of Boca. Continuing on, it was said that Ruben Amass and Roberto De Zerbi are of interest to INEOS. I do think if Ten Hag is sacked, these would be the first two choice managers. But I do think that Liverpool and Bayern and Barcelona have a little bit of a little bit ahead of us on that, in the sense of, I think because of all the managerial fails post Alex Ferguson as a manager, as big as United is, it is a bit of like a risky job. And I think a lot of people will think they have more security at, I say Barcelona and Bayern, they've been a bit iffy lately, and Liverpool's a massive challenge. But yeah, it's going to be difficult because you've got 3 or 4 top clubs looking for a manager. And I think there's three or four good managers there. But can United beat them to Amorim and De Zerbi? I'm not sure. That's another reason I think they could stick with Ten Hag. Now, I want to talk about the Liverpool game, and I want to do a preview to the Liverpool game and what our starting 11 could look like. And as you can see on the screen by the quote, it's looking like it's going to be a Willy Cambuala and Harry Maguire back line. Now, I like Willy Cambuala, but it's going to be a challenge. I think if Willy Cambuala was playing with Varane, I'd feel confident, but I don't feel confident with him playing with Maguire, because I just think that as good as Maguire's been this season, he doesn't get that security and experience that Varane does. Now, I saw someone suggest that we play Casemiro centre-back, but the thought of Casemiro in the channels versus Liverpool, particularly Darwin Núñez, did you see how he couldn't even catch up with Jackson? I think that's a nightmare. So I think it will be Cambuala playing right centre-back, Maguire here at left centre-back. But Casemiro was so poor. I just want to see Amrabat given a go. I would honestly, because Amrabat and Maino played in the away fixture in the pivot together versus Liverpool. We saw Amrabat and Maino play together versus Liverpool in the away fixture, and they worked so well together in the pivot. They've only played once in the pivot, and we got a 0-0 draw to Liverpool defensively. And if you look at the back line and the liabilities there, and the fact that obviously we left back as well, I think that Casemiro has been poor. Let's drop him for Amrabat. Now, I think that Mason Mount was super, super impressive when he came on versus Chelsea. And he obviously impressed me when he came on versus Brentford, but I don't know what his fitness would be to play 90 minutes. But I would like to see him given minutes. But as much as I think Garnacho needs a rest, he's been our best winger. You can't drop in a game like this. And believe it or not, and I never thought I'd say this, but I'm going to play Anthony over Rashford. I thought that Anthony has been his game versus Liverpool and his game versus Chelsea. His last 2 appearances, Anthony's really impressed me. And off the fact that he works really hard, and I think Liverpool were going to need to put in defensive shift and work really hard. This would be my starting lineup versus Liverpool. Obviously, Anana in goal. This would be my starting lineup in Liverpool. I don't think we'll see this, though. I think Ten Hag will probably go. I think Ten Hag might go like this again. I think he might play McTominay and Maino. I think he might drop Casemiro, weirdly, and do this. I weirdly do. But then, because he was so poor, Casemiro, I think he could do something like that. I also think he might drop Højlund and do something like that. I don't know what Ten Hag's going to do. That's not what I do. But Ten Hag could be a little bit unpredictable. Ten Hag is weirdly predictable because he often has to sort of, who he's going to play. He's not going to play Amrabat. I'd like to see Amrabat and Mount. I would love to see Amrabat and Mount starting 11, but I don't think he's going to do that. But he's also unpredictable because actually there's so many things that we can do despite injuries. Also, breaking news coming out ahead of the Liverpool game. Breaking news. This has literally come out as I'm live. look at this. It's been said that Harry Amass has a strong chance of receiving his first Premier League call-up tomorrow afternoon when United face Liverpool at Old Trafford. The 17-year-old left-back was absent from the under-18s today and was taking part in first-team training. So Harry Amass could be called up. That doesn't mean he'll start. I think he'll probably be on the bench and Wan-Bissaka, and of course Dalot will start, but he might be on the bench, and that's a sign of, oh, maybe this kid that's been unbelievable in the academy will maybe get a chance soon. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Please do that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. See you next time. Bye.